Am I overreacting by leaving my boyfriend of 5 years because of a joke he made about his twin brother essaying me? I've been with my F29 boyfriend, M34, Toby for 5 years in total. For the past year, we had been trying for a baby with no luck. Eventually, we went for testing. Well, I did, and I'm fine, so Toby went, and he is infertile. He was devastated. I was more optimistic, saying I was very open to adoption. After a few weeks, he came to me with a suggestion. Toby has an identical twin brother, Tom. And yes, he wanted to get his brother to be the bio-father to our baby. The thing is, his brother is a toxic aholi. He never can get past 3 dates with a woman because he isn't a holy. I've accepted that he will always be in our lives as he and Toby are very close. When I met Toby, Tom was working on the other side of the country, and I didn't even meet him for 2 years in person. But Toby is different when with Tom. He's kind of toxic too. There was a point after Tom moved back that he started to make jokes about me, but they were mean. And Toby laughed and joined in. I'm normally quiet and non-confrontational, but I blew up on them, and they stopped, but things have not been good between Tom and I since. So I wasn't on board with Toby's suggestion. He brought Tom home with him one night to discuss it with me. I sat and listened, and then Toby made a joke about us making the baby the old-fashioned way as it was cheaper. I said no, gross, no thanks. And then Tom said, how do you know we haven't already had cuddles? I looked confused, and he said, when you were drunk you can't tell us apart, and us brothers like to share. I looked at Toby and he was laughing and nodding. I said that I can tell them apart, and I know my BF. But then Toby said that in the dark and being drunk I wouldn't know. They intimated this had happened in the past. I was very angry. Then Tom added fuel to the fire, saying that he wanted to be there to see our baby being born, and as I shouldn't be embarrassed as he had seen what I have before. Then he winked at me. They were both laughing, and I just left and went to bed in the spare room. I was furious, and next day Toby kept it up, laughing and saying, oops, you didn't know which brother you had. Now I know well I can tell them apart, even if they do look very alike, but there have been about 4 or 5 occasions that we did have cuddles when I was drunk and in the dark. Twice was in hotel rooms after friends' weddings, and the other times were just at home after hanging out with friends. So I'm just unsure. Also, during that fun conversation, Tom also inferred that he and Toby switched places to cover for Toby, but wouldn't say for what. It was to imply cheating. But as I say, I know them apart, but after 2 weeks of them keeping up these jokes, I started to second-guess everything. Eventually, I decided to go through all Toby's devices. I needed to know if there was any grain of truth in either of these jokes. I found a text exchange on his iPad where they appear to be discussing hiding something, but it's pretty vague, and the messages don't go back very far at all. This had been eating away at me, and Toby is still keeping up this joke at this stage. Eventually, I planned to try to get his phone as I hadn't looked there as I plotted. I realized the depths of the paranoia and distress and anxiety I had sank to. The trust with Toby had just gone. And I told him straight that I was moving out to my friend's house, and that if he continued to infer that he allowed his brother to assault me without my consent, I'd be going to the police about both of them. He freaked out. He said it was just a joke, and I was taking it all too seriously. I couldn't deal with him and left, and went to stay with a friend. I feel I can't tell anyone why I've left him, though. He is saying I'm being ridiculous and unreasonable, and wants me to come home. He says he will overlook me threatening to go to the police. Am I being unreasonable? Am I blowing this all out of proportion? I feel I'm so turned around that I don't know. Tom weirdly hasn't messaged or contacted me, and I expected to get nasty messages from him, but it's been total silence from him. What do I do? Update 1. Leaving my BF because of a joke about his brother essaying me. Just wanted to let you know that I couldn't get past his joke, and no matter how much we tried to talk, Toby wasn't taking any responsibility for the magnitude of what he said. It destroyed all the trust one had in him. I actually spoke to his sister and older brother, who are both low contact with the twins and their parents, and it's because of how the twins were favored over the other two. I learned a lot, and that neither twin is dominant. Really, it's more that they are both dominant in different areas, and both can be toxic, and it's not a case of Tom leading Toby in this. So really, I decided that I didn't know Toby at all, and that he wasn't willing to even accept any responsibility for what he said, so to me there was no going forward. Toby is not taking the split very well and is getting louder and more obnoxious. The surprise was a seemingly heartfelt, sincere apology from Tom, who said he knew he took it too far and that he didn't know Toby had kept the joke going. He said it wasn't even about me, but that he was enjoying having something over his brother, but that doesn't fit with what actually happened to my mind, so I don't believe him. And that's the key issue. I don't believe either of them and never will again. So that's it, I'm done. I've moved out my stuff completely, and I am still trying to make sense of any of it, but can't yet. Am I overreacting to breaking up completely here? I can't see a way forward, and I'm no longer even willing to try. Edit. Just to clarify a few things. I did speak to the police after I left initially, And after the responses on my first post here, they really felt they couldn't do anything much, but they did speak to both twins. It was more an informal chat than anything, and Toby was livid. Tom never mentioned it to me, so I don't know how he felt about it. Secondly, what Tom had over on Toby is that he needed him to have a baby. But again, they were totally tag teaming on me that day, and it wasn't one of them against the other, so that was nonsense. Their parents reached out and were very angry that I took a joke so seriously. They seemed to think the most the boys were guilty of was bad taste. I spoke to the siblings after that, and even though I had met them a couple of times, I didn't really know them as they kept their distance. Their brother was very helpful in helping me to understand their dynamic, which frankly is creepy. He doesn't think they actually did share me, but only because they are complete cowards. They wouldn't do something that their parents couldn't bail them out on if need be. He says Toby is all about mind games, and looking at Toby in that new light, I could tell he was right. And that's one of the big issues here. It was the total effing with my mind and sense of reality. I had always avoided them together, but this baby thing brought them together in force and in my face, and I got to see the true Toby. Toby is angry that I could think he would do such a thing despite him telling me for weeks he did do exactly such a thing. He still wants to work it out, but I can't be anywhere near them. Thanks for the validation and huge wake-up call, Reddit. I've a feeling none of this would have ended well for me one way or another if I stayed. Update 2. I left my boyfriend because of his joke. And things have only gotten weirder. Hey everyone. It's been a wild ride since my last update. So, after I officially moved out, I was doing my best to move on. Blocked Toby and Tom on everything. I was finally feeling a sense of peace until last Friday. I got home from work, and there's a letter waiting for me. An actual, handwritten letter. From Tom. Yeah, Tom. The letter starts off weirdly formal, like some old-timey apology. He's all like, I deeply regret the distress I may have caused, and I assure you, our actions were in jest, albeit misguided. Okay, sure, Tom. That's exactly what I want. A Victorian apology letter from the guy who implied he might have secretly slept with me. But then, it gets strange. He says, and I kid you not, that he's been going to therapy. Tom, therapy. Now, don't get me wrong. I think everyone can benefit from therapy. But the idea of Tom sitting on a couch, talking about his feelings? Hard to picture. He claims he's realized how unhealthy his relationship with Toby is. He even said that their twin bond, yes, he used the phrase twin bond, has led them to some bad choices. He didn't go into details, but it was definitely more than just their stupid jokes. The whole thing felt off, though, like he was trying to play the victim in his own messed up apology. Here's the kicker. At the end of the letter, he offers to help me if I ever need to talk. What? As if we're suddenly friends or something. It was borderline creepy, like he's trying to play some weird redemption game with me. I threw the letter in the trash immediately, but it left me feeling uneasy. But wait, it gets worse. 2 days after the letter, Toby shows up at my work. Just casually strolls into the parking lot, acting like we're still dating, like nothing's wrong. My coworker had to drag me back inside when I spotted him because I was ready to go nuclear. I've never been so angry in my life. Toby was waving, calling my name, saying we need to talk. But I wasn't having it. My boss actually had to get involved and threatened to call security. Later that night, I get a text from Toby, no idea how he got through the block, and it's a wall of text. Like he's writing a novel about how he misses me. And it was all just a misunderstanding. He tried to justify the whole thing again, saying that they were just testing my loyalty to him and that I failed. Failed. Can you believe that? Like this was some sick game to see how much I'd put up with. He even had the audacity to say Tom's apology letter was his idea, as if that would somehow smooth things over. At that point, I was honestly starting to question their sanity. Anyway, I ignored the message, but the next morning I found out that he tried to contact my parents. My mom, bless her heart, nearly lost it. She told him in no uncertain terms to leave me alone, or they'd be getting a lawyer involved. I thought that would be the end of it, but nope. Toby doubled down. He started posting vague, passive-aggressive stuff on Facebook. I had my friend screenshot it. Things like, people who don't understand jokes ruin relationships, and some people can't handle loyalty tests. SMH. SMH indeed, Toby. The whole thing felt like he was spiraling out of control, and honestly, it's scary. But here's the real twist: Tom hasn't reached out again. No texts, no calls, no nothing. He just vanished after that letter. Which makes me wonder, was this really all Toby's idea? Or did Tom know something else was coming and wanted to get ahead of it? Like, I can't shake the feeling that there's something bigger happening between the twins that I still don't know about. It's like I got a peek behind the curtain and realized they've been playing some twisted game with everyone around them, including me. I'm honestly freaked out, and I've been debating moving to a different city. My friends have been super supportive, but I feel like Toby's obsession with me is escalating. It's not just about the breakup anymore. It feels like he wants control, like he's mad that I got out before he could finish whatever this messed up plan was. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I wish I had a nice, clean resolution, but this feels like it's far from over. I just hope I'm not underestimating how far Toby will go to get his way. The guy who was so chill 5 years ago, I don't recognize him anymore. And honestly, I don't want to. I guess we'll see what happens next. Stay safe out there. Reddit? TLDR. Tom sent me a weird apology letter. Toby showed up at my work, and now I'm starting to wonder if there's something even darker going on between the twins. I'm freaked out, and it feels like this isn't over yet. Update 3. The twins' mind games are far from over after the whole work parking lot incident and that unsettling text from Toby. I thought blocking him, again, and keeping my distance would help things cool down. But apparently, that just gave him more time to stew. About 3 days after my last update, I get a call from a private number. I usually don't answer those, but I had a weird feeling. I pick up, and it's Toby's mom. Now, let me just say, I've never been close with his parents. They've always been cold, and well, I get why now. But his mom? She was surprisingly calm. She said, "We need to talk. I think you're overreacting, and I want to help you see reason." Right. Reason. This is the same woman who basically laughed off the jokes when I first left. I told her I wasn't interested, and before I could hang up, she dropped a bomb. "You should know Tom and Toby have been having a lot of problems lately. They're not the same as they used to be." I stopped in my tracks. What did she mean? Not the same. Was this about me, or was there something deeper going on? I pressed her, but she clammed up and just said, "I don't want to get involved in your personal matters, but you should know that they're struggling." Then she hung up. Struggling with what? That phone call sent me down a rabbit hole. I started wondering if the twins' toxic behavior wasn't just about me. Was there some underlying tension I had no clue about? I reached out to Toby's older brother, the one who'd helped me understand the dynamics between the twins before. And this is where things got crazy. He tells me that there's been tension between Tom and Toby for a while now, like years. Apparently, Tom has always been the more aggressive one, but Toby's always had a way of getting under Tom's skin. It's subtle, but he's manipulative. The twin bond isn't just creepy, it's destructive. According to the brother, Tom resents Toby for having the perfect, life-good job, stable relationship, and now the chance to have a baby, even if it's through Tom. And that resentment? It's been boiling over for a while. The brother told me this isn't the first time they've messed with people's heads. When they were younger, they'd play this same kind of game, swapping places, confusing people, seeing how far they could push it without getting caught. It started out small, like school pranks, but as they got older, it got darker. They liked the power it gave them, especially over women. My heart sank. I had no idea it was this deep, but suddenly, everything made sense. I asked him straight up if he thought the twins had ever switched places without me knowing. He hesitated, then said, "I don't know, but if they did, Toby would never let Tom be in control for long." That sent chills down my spine. He also mentioned something even more disturbing. There's been talk among their family about Tom not being mentally stable. No one said it outright, but there's speculation that Tom's behavior is more than just being an A*** hole. I don't know how much of that is true, but now I'm paranoid. And it gets worse. A few nights ago, I started getting these weird phone calls in the middle of the night, always from an unknown number, and when I pick up, there's silence on the other end. At first, I thought it was Toby or Tom messing with me again, but after the third night in a row, I was genuinely freaked out. I stopped answering. My friends told me to just let it ring out, but the calls kept coming. It wasn't until one night about 2 a.m. that I heard someone outside my apartment. I peeked through the blinds, and there was a car parked down the street. I couldn't see who was inside, but I had a gut feeling it was one of the twins. I felt like I was being watched. The next morning, I found a single piece of paper tucked under my door. It was folded, no envelope, just this wrinkled, torn piece of paper with a message scrawled in messy handwriting. "It's not over until I say it's over." No name, no signature, but I know who sent it. My heart was pounding. I called the police immediately, and they said they'd send someone to patrol the area, but of course, nothing came of it. No evidence, no one saw anything. Just me, slowly losing my grip on reality. I was about to lose it. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus at work. I started looking into restraining orders, but with so little hard evidence, I felt powerless. And then, silence. For the past few days, nothing. No calls, no letters, no sightings of shady cars outside my window. Just nothing. I should be relieved, right? but I'm not. It feels too quiet, too planned, like they're waiting for me to drop my guard. I've been hyper-aware of everything, every shadow, every noise outside my apartment. I feel like I'm living in some kind of psychological thriller where the villain is always one step ahead. At this point, I don't know if it's Toby, Tom, or both of them. Are they working together? Or are they playing their own twisted game with each other, using me as the pawn? I keep replaying everything in my head, the jokes, the text messages, the tests. And I realize now that this was never about a baby. It was never about them helping me or building a family. This was about control. They wanted to see how far they could push me, how much I would question myself. So here I am, waiting for whatever comes next. I'm not sure if I should leave town or stick it out and keep fighting. But one thing's for sure, this is far from over. TLDR, Toby and Tom's twisted games have escalated. There's tension between the twins, creepy phone calls, and a threatening note. Things have gone quiet now, but I feel like they're not done with me yet. I'm scared, and I don't know what's coming next. Final update. This is going to be my last update, Reddit, because after everything that's happened, I need to move on for real. But trust me, the ending isn't what you think it is because even I didn't see it coming. So after the creepy phone calls and that threatening note, I was completely on edge. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus. I jumped at every little sound. It felt like the twins were everywhere, even when I couldn't see them. I knew something big was about to happen. I just didn't know when or what. But then, out of nowhere, I got an unexpected phone call. Not from Toby or Tom. It was Toby's older brother again. He told me that I needed to meet him. He said he couldn't explain everything over the phone, but he had information that I needed to know, information that would put an end to all of this. Part of me was skeptical. How could he possibly stop the twins from whatever messed up game they were playing? But I was desperate for any kind of closure, so I agreed. We met in a public place, a cafe downtown, packed with people because no way was I taking any more chances. When I saw him, he looked more stressed than I'd ever seen, like something had been eating away at him. He sat down across from me and went straight to the point. I need to tell you the truth about Toby and Tom, he said. They're not just messing with you. They've been messing with everyone. For years. My stomach dropped. What did he mean, everyone? He started telling me things I hadn't heard before. Apparently, the twins had a long history of pulling off these disturbing mind games, not just with women, but with friends, even family members. But it was never just about jokes or tests. It was about seeing how far they could push people. Toby was the subtle manipulator, while Tom was the more obvious aggressor. Together, they had a way of warping reality for anyone around them. They'd switch places, gaslight people, break up relationships, and always stay one step ahead. The ultimate power trip. They feed off of it, he said, his voice shaking. And you're their biggest game yet. But I think it's about to unravel. Here's where it gets insane. The brother told me that Tom had started to unravel on his own. Ever since the baby discussion and Toby suggesting using Tom as the bio father, there had been tension between them. At first, I thought Tom resented Toby, but the truth was darker. Tom didn't just want to be the backup plan, he wanted to take Toby's place. In everything. The brother told me that Tom had become obsessed with the idea of swapping with Toby permanently, like they used to do as kids. Except this time, it wasn't a prank. Tom wanted Toby's life, his job, his friends, and yes, even me. The jokes about me not knowing which brother I was with? They weren't just jokes. Tom was serious. It hit me like a ton of bricks. The weird comments, the loyalty test, the way Tom backed off after that creepy letter wasn't an apology. It was a strategy. He wanted me to doubt Toby. He wanted me to think that maybe he had already swapped with Toby without me knowing, to plant seeds of paranoia. And if I did break up with Toby, Tom was planning to swoop in, playing the changed man who had been trying to help me all along. The brother told me that recently, the twins had gotten into a huge fight because Toby found out Tom had been sneaking around behind his back, talking to their parents, setting things up to make it look like he was the stable one. He was setting the stage to replace Toby completely. That note you found? The brother said, his eyes dark. It wasn't Toby. It was Tom. I couldn't breathe. Tom had been the one watching me, the one calling me in the middle of the night. Toby wasn't innocent by any means, but Tom was behind the scariest parts of all of this. He wasn't just screwing with my mind, he wanted to take my life and make it his own. The brother urged me to take immediate action. He said the police wouldn't do much without solid proof, but he could help me disappear just for a little while, until things settled down. At first, I thought he was exaggerating, but then I realized he was scared for me. And when I saw that fear in his eyes, I knew this wasn't just about a breakup anymore. It was about survival. So, I did it. I left. I packed up a few essentials, told my close friends, and with the help of Toby's brother, I disappeared. I'm not going to say where I am now, but let's just say it's far enough that I don't have to worry about seeing Toby or Tom anytime soon. And then, the final bombshell hit. A week after I left, I got a message from the brother. He told me that Tom had been arrested, not because of me, but because he had been caught stalking another woman, someone he had dated briefly years ago, but apparently couldn't let go of. He'd been escalating his behavior with her too, in the same way he had with me. The police found evidence that linked him to a bunch of other women he had harassed over the years. And guess what? Toby wasn't innocent either. They found out that Toby had helped cover up some of Tom's behavior. It wasn't just the mind games. They had both been involved in something far darker than I ever imagined. Toby was trying to reach out to me, but by then, I was long gone. I changed my number, locked down all my social media, and made sure no one could track me down. So here I am, free at last. I still don't have all the answers, but I've realized that I'll never fully understand the twisted dynamic between those two. And honestly, I don't need to. What matters is that I'm out of their web, alive, and starting over. I've reconnected with friends, started therapy, and am slowly rebuilding my life. The twins? I don't care what happens to them anymore. They've destroyed their own lives, and they can deal with the consequences. As for me, I'm finally free from their manipulation, their toxicity, and their twisted games. TLDR, Tom and Toby's twisted mind games ran deeper than I thought. Tom wanted to replace Toby entirely, and both had been manipulating people for years. Tom got arrested for stalking another woman, and Toby was implicated in helping cover it up. I've left town and started over. Finally free.